You're listening to the Unlocking Africa podcast.
We are teaching our customers and our talents to work together through one common platform, and we are building this ecosystem of remote work and mainly in Africa. We are teaching the talents how to behave in front of the remote employer. We teach them how to get a job themselves instead of waiting to get the job for them. How I see the next 5 years, more entrepreneurs, more technology. It's coming and there is potential in Africa. And this is a continent where you have everything to do. So I'm really bullish about Africa.
Stay tuned as we bring you inspiring people who are unlocking Africa's economic potential. You're listening to the Unlocking Africa podcast with your host, Tessa Adamu.
Welcome to another episode of the Unlocking Africa podcast, where we explore the ideas, innovations, and strategies unlocking Africa's economic potential. My guest today is Nicola Goldstein, a HR tech entrepreneur and co-founder of Talentum Group and Breedj. Nicholas actually joined us on the podcast a few years ago to talk about Talentum and global recruitment. Since then, his work has evolved in a really interesting way, which has culminated in Breedj, an AI-powered talent marketplace helping companies hire, manage, and scale remote teams globally with a strong operational focus on Africa. Welcome to the Unlocking Africa podcast, Nicholas. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me back.
Yes. As I mentioned earlier, you're one of the first people to come back or return to the podcast in 4 years. So welcome back.
Thank you. In fact, you are the second podcast hoster where I was at the beginning and I'm coming back. The first one was with a big company called Deal. They are one of the leaders in the world for remote work, and I was one of the first guests. So I'm happy to come back a few years after to tell you what's new in my industry.
Fantastic. So, Nicholas, pleasure as always. Thank you for coming back. As we mentioned, you joined us a few years ago to talk about Talentum Group. So, for listeners who may be new, how has your journey evolved since that conversation?
Well, Talentum is a matching Pan-African staffing and recruitment platform in Africa. So this is what we were doing since more than 8 years now. And last year, we decided to shift from a services company to a tech company. So it's not easy, but what we do is we are teaching our customer and our talents to work together through one common platform. And we are building this ecosystem of remote work and mainly in Africa.
So what changed in the market to push you to think differently about global hiring?
Well, there is, of course, one big history date, which is the COVID. Since COVID, we have seen that remote work has been one formula for all companies. And whether you are from Eastern countries or countries from the South, you can work with technology remotely. And now the workforce is global. So people have understood that. Now people are trying to come back, to push people to come back to office, but globalization and workforce, which is global, is here to stay. And I'm sure that all the companies has to keep that in mind and in their strategy to work globally with competencies and skills which are worldwide. And with us and Breedj, we are trying to put all the skills, remote skills from Africa in one common platform. And we are putting them in like an open space in front of our customer.
So what problems were you seeing in global hiring that convinced you the world needed a platform like Breedj?
Well, in fact, you already have a lot of platform for remote work. You have platform for hiring freelancer. But concerning Africa, something was lacking. So as I'm based in Africa since 10 years, I have been in the outsourcing industry since 20 years. I have seen that Africa has an opportunity to show their talents, and it was not a land for outsourcing. It used to be India a few years back. It used to be East Europe, but Africa was not a land for outsourcing. And we have plenty of great talents in Africa, and the number are growing. As you know, the demographic is going to be huge in the coming years. We are going to have the largest workforce. So I think this is a continent for us, for workforce, and I want to be the first one to show this community. And what we try to do is we try to educate either customer and talents to work together remotely, and it will go through technology. So that's why we are creating an ecosystem where we are giving the tools to employers and employee to work together.
Thank you for sharing that. In terms of ecosystem, Talentum came first. Now you've got Breedj. So how does Breedj connect to Talentum in terms of conceptually and operationally?
Well, in fact, we have learned from 7 years in the ground. We have learned from our customer and our talents, and we have digitalized everything through one common platform, which is breedj.com. And what it means, it's from the talent side, we are teaching the talents how to behave in front of a remote employer. We teach them how to get the job themselves instead of waiting us to get the job for them. And in the employer side, what we do is we are trying to give them the framework how to work remotely. It could be done worldwide, but what we are doing them the legal framework to hire people in Africa.
Thank you for that. As you mentioned, you're trying to teach those candidates to get the jobs for themselves and to position themselves in a favorable position. So from your perspective, how big is the opportunity for Africa to position itself as a global remote talent hub?
Well, if we are talking about the outsourcing industry, it's a market of more than $100 trillion. So it's a huge market. Now, if you want to be in this market, what we are saying to every day to our pool of talent is you need to be trained. You need to understand what is going on in this world. And moreover, we have more and more people and companies which are recruiting remotely, but you need to be good and you need to show that you have the same skills as people from other countries. We are trying to change the mindset of our talents, and we try to teach them how to behave in this worldwide market. So this is mainly mindset change that we are pushing our candidates. We are not a training company, so what we do, it's just an employability bootcamp. And also, I want to share something with you today that we are going to help 500 interns, fresh graduates from Africa, to get a job. And we are paying with one of our partners, which is the MasterCard Foundation, 500 interns during the 12 next month. Because people remotely do not have the opportunity to work remotely because people are looking for people with expertise. So that's why we are coming for 2026 with this part. We are going to fund and give the opportunity to 500 interns to get a remote job.
Fantastic. And I guess with that in mind, in terms of the interns on the continent finding remote jobs, which is key because one of Breedj's core ideas is enabling Africans to access those jobs, but without forced migration. Why do you believe that distinction is so important, specifically for Africa's long-term economic development?
Yes, exactly. This is where we came to the party, because what we are listening is people doesn't want to migrate. What they want is they just want a decent work, remain in their country, in their daily life, but they want a decent work and, if possible, to work with a company which is outside Africa. We won't have enough employer in Africa to feed all the labor which is coming to the market in the next years. So our key as an impact platform is to bring employers to the continent. And by paying ourselves, the talent, employer has zero costs. What they have to do is they have to train them. And after 12 months, if they feel they are good, they have to hire them. So what we do is we are pushing the industry to get remote interns from Africa. And hopefully we are pushing employability for remote work and bringing new employers to the continent.
So how do you respond to people who might argue that remote work risks becoming just a new form of outsourcing rather than providing true economic inclusion?
Well, of course, when we are talking about outsourcing, many foreign companies are looking for low cost. They are looking for doing economy and reduce the price. So yes, they are reducing the price, but we are trying to push employers not to look for low costs, but to look for talents. Our motto is, you are some difficulties to recruit in your country. Let's find you the best of the talents worldwide and mainly in Africa. But you have to pay them well if you want them to fidelize and to keep the best one for your company. So it's just how we talk and how we market the talents. And what we are saying to both talents and employer, if you are good and if you want to keep them, you have to pay them a decent salary. It's not a salary from US or it's not salary from Europe, but it's salary which is perhaps higher than if they were hired by a local company.
I think from the conversation so far, one thing that keeps coming up is that talent is not enough. So let's get into the mechanics behind all of this in terms of the systems, the compliance, and the infrastructure. I know that many companies do underestimate how complex cross-border hiring can be. So what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes you see international employers make when hiring talent in Africa?
Well, when you do remote work, of course, you need to have a framework. You need to provide everything to succeed, which means, first of all, you need to know how to work remotely with people from different time zone, different culture, and you have to give them everything that they are part of your team. You have to, even if it's outsourcing and we call that talents or contractors, you have to let them feel that they are part of your company. So this is a key success. Now, for example, there is another which is barrier, which is security, all the information that you are going to share. So, of course, you need to know exactly who you are working with. So you are going to work like it was your own employee, but it could be outsourced to a supplier, or perhaps it's going to be a contractor. So there is many technology now that you can just try to avoid all the kind of security. That's for one. There is some possibility where you can send a laptop which is securized to your talents. You can also work with few co-working space in the country where people have to remain in this co-working when they are working. So currently, you have many ways to give a framework to your remote talents. And more, we are going to go forward. We are going to have some new technology which is coming, which is going a framework to the employers. For example, with Breedj, we have integrated a timesheet system where people are just staying when they are here, when they are not here. And based on this timesheet system, we are doing the invoicing. So we are trying to build tools based on our expertise, and these tools is made for remote work.
So would you say infrastructure or talent are the real bottlenecks in hiring in Africa?
Yes, still, we have some countries, for example, where we have great talents, but we lack the electricity ecosystem, which is lacking. For example, I'm talking about RDC. We have great talents, but we have a lot of electricity cuts, and it's not possible to work if you do not provide the ideal ecosystem for remote work. So, for example, you need to come with solution. I don't know if you remember, for example, in South Africa, which is a powerful country, they used to have an issue with electricity, but they came with power bank. So they came with solutions. So people there were used to do some remote work and outsourcing. They knew that they had some electricity cut, and they came with solutions. So Africans are well known to find solutions when there is an issue. Same for Madagascar. If you want to work remotely, you need to have a double internet connection. You need to have some solar electricity with you. So I think this is a beauty for Africa, and this is what we have to sell, that we still have some main infrastructure issue, but we are coming with solution. And I think this is what our customers like. When there is an issue, we are trying to find them solution, and sometimes solution comes from the talents itself. So this is also one good solution. But I'm okay with you. In Africa, we still have the three main, let's say, pillar that we'll have to work on. But this is more as a government level. So as you know, there is the 3E, which I remind you, it's E for energy, E is for education, and the third E is for entrepreneurship. So if we remain and if we work on the 3E, it will help Africa to be the next booming continent. So energy, education, entrepreneurship. And if we try to focus in these 3E, I'm sure that Africa can be a booming continent in the next years.
As you detailed, understanding the local realities and challenges on the ground is important. So how important is it that platforms like Breedj are deeply grounded in local compliance rather than, operating from a purely global lens?
Well, this technology, Breedj, has been done as a Pan-African platform for now, which is focusing into Africa, but tomorrow we can open it to Asia, we can open it to South America, because what we see is we are working a lot with Europe because the time zone is pretty good. Now with America, we see that the competition of outsourcing and remote workers are mainly people from South America because they are working directly with America. Southeast Asia also. So it's just a queries of time zone. And if you're working with remote worker, which are really inbuilt in your company, the time zone is very important. So that's why for now, I believe between Europe and Africa, because the time zone is good.
We've talked a lot about systems and infrastructure. The other big force shaping all of this, of course, is technology and especially AI, which we can't ignore. I know that AI is often framed as a threat to jobs, but how are you using AI as an enabler of opportunity rather than something that is displacing African talent?
Very good question. In fact, I think we'll more and more talk about augmented workforce. So what is an augmented workforce? It's mainly talents which are used to work AI tools. For example, we are launching with Breedj a remote AI readiness badge. So what it is we are going to teach you and train you how to be AI readiness, because this is what our customer and employers are going to ask in the next couple of months and years. You need to understand AI. So that's why it's very important to think that tomorrow you need to be augmented by AI. So AI is going to help you to be better, to have a better productivity. And for that, you need to master tools, which is already on the market. So for example, in our platform Breedj, when we are asking talents to register, we are asking them few queries about how do you master technology? on top of ChatGPT? What other tools are you using? Are you familiar with AI and how AI can help you? So I think it's not focused to Africa, but it's worldwide. Now, people need to understand that AI is going to change the future of work, change, I will say, everything. So you need to understand everything which is around you and about AI. I'm pushing our talents, and it's even more for remote talents. You need to show your employers that you understand what is going on, and perhaps you have to teach them what you know about AI and how is it helping you to improve your daily work.
So you've described how you're encouraging the talent to incorporate AI in their daily work. But if we look at how you're using AI internally at Breedj, what role does AI play specifically in the talent matching process?
Well, at the beginning of Breedj, we started to bring AI to help either employers and talents to fill their form more quickly. So, for example, many employers came to us. They said, we are looking for a video editor, and they had no job offer. So now, with some LLM parts, we are providing some tools which, if you give them only one title, we can create a job post for you, for the employer side. On the talent side, we are also providing you tools in order to enhance your CV, also to enhance how to reach potential employer. So we are giving them tools, which is mainly LLM tools, which are helping them both to match. That was 1 year ago, but technology is moving fast. And now we are working with technology in order to bring a scoring system in order to try to find the best match between one job offer from one employer and talents from one side. So we have been working into this technology, but we need to be more advanced. Technology is going fast. AI tools are new every day. And I'm sure that if we talk again in a few months, we are going to integrate new AI tools to our platform.
I think there is a bigger question underneath all of this in terms of how work gets done, but also who truly benefits from it. I know the Breedj is explicitly very impact driven. So how do you balance building a commercially scalable business while staying true to the ethical hiring and social impact of the work that you're doing?
Well, we are one of the first outsourcing platform and technology for profit, which are transparent on salary. So working with us, you are going to pay and to know how much you are paying the people which are going to work with you. And our business model is very simple. It's a fixed cost fee per month to do what we call the employer of records or the contractors of records. So by being transparent, it's, I think, clue because people can see the reality of the salary. That's for one. And second is also the talents are really directly working with the talent. There is no third party. The third party like us, it's just for administration and giving tools to both parts to work together. And mainly as, for example, what we told you earlier about the MasterCard Foundation, we have been working with them since many years now in the employability part. And that's why we have been selected, because what we provide to fund interns for remote employers outside Africa, it was not implemented with the foundation. And we are the first one to implement it this year. So it's part of our employability bootcamp and program. And it's a pillar of our company.
Earlier, we discussed how brain drain or migration for work are a concern for African economies. Do you genuinely believe remote work can reverse that trend?
I think it's a new economy. Remote work is a new economy. It brings to the continent some IDF, which is indirect income to the continent. So it brings wealth with receiving income in your country. It benefits from your family. You are paying tax in your country. So it brings foreign exchange and currencies to your country. So I think by staying and working from your country, you are helping your country and the continent. So, for example, since we are created, I think we have brought to the continent more than $25 million of income shared with all the talents and pool of talents which are working with us. And we are still bootstrapping. We have not fundraised yet. But we are doing more than a lot of NGO which are doing that for non-profit. But we are trying to mix both as a profitable company and a company for profit and bringing impact to the continent.
So with that in mind, what do you believe needs to happen for it to work at scale?
Well, about scaling the process, that's why we decided to switch from a services company to a tech company. If we want to scale, we need to automatize things. We need to let the markets work together. And that's why, for now, we are having more than 800 talents every week, new talents every week coming to the platform. We have new employers coming to us, but it's lower than what we expected. So that's why we are asking now employers from outside Africa to believe in African talents, to believe in the framework we are giving them, to give a chance to great talents in Africa, which could be found in several fields, which could be in IT, in web, in finance, in video editing, in sales, marketing, everything which could be done remotely. It's possible to find great talents. So we are trying to market the talents and pushing talents to find themselves the next employer.
I believe for this to work at scale, it cannot just be about one company or one platform. It needs an ecosystem around it. I know that you work with corporates, institutions, and development partners such as the MasterCard Foundation. How important are those partnerships in accelerating the work that you do in terms of the participation of Africa in the global remote workforce?
Well, I think one key could be to show more and more success stories. More we are going to show that we have some great talent and it's possible to work remotely and look what this company is doing, or study case about how they work with people from all over the world, and the team in Africa will help us scale remote work worldwide, but also in Africa. So, like I was saying earlier, for me, talents are like diamonds in Africa, but for now they're still rough. We need to cut them, we need to polish them, and then to market them well. And this is what is lacking in Africa, and we are trying to be the people we are going to show that we can find a real diamond in Africa.
From your experience, what would you say governments or policymakers on the continent need to do differently to specifically support access and the ease for African candidates to access remote work opportunities?
I think government should just concentrate into education, training, and infrastructure, and mainly energy. For example, I'm based in Mauritius. Everybody is trained with AI. They can have this training which is reimbursed. So this is a nice way to promote people to get trained and use AI tools. And everything which is done through a training company, you can have some subsidies. So this is one solution which I found it interesting. Then In other countries, perhaps internet connection is still too expensive. It's more expensive than in Europe, so it's not a good way. So we should pressure all the telco companies which are pushing to keep the high price to the population. You have to try to reduce the cost of internet connection. And by the way, also electricity. But this is how I see how government should help. In order to push remote work, people have to think about biggest infrastructure and training and education.
If we continue on the theme in terms of the decision makers and leaders who might be listening to this conversation, as global companies become more comfortable hiring across borders, what models of remote work compliance do you think will define Africa's role in this space over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it's just a question of demography. We are going to have the largest workforce in Africa. So if you are looking to have great talents, you will find them in Africa. If you just bet in the top 1%, you will still have manpower which is larger than your country. So America has bet a lot into Indian talents. You have great Indian talents. Great Indian talents became CEO of companies in US. Now there is a shift, and Africa had the opportunity to be the next shift. And we have great talents in Africa. I see them every day. I talk to them every day. They are smart. They are good. What they just need is someone to trust them.
If we bring this back to the talent, looking ahead 5 to 10 years, what skills do you believe African professionals must prioritize to stay globally competitive, especially, as we mentioned, in a AI-driven labor market?
Everything which could be done remotely, it goes from finance to sales and marketing, IT, of course, but everything which could be done remotely, where AI won't replace you, but AI will augment you. So you just have to learn every day. If you want to behave and remain in your industry, you need to understand that the world is moving much faster than before, and you need to learn and you need to augment yourself through AI. And in the next 10 years, I think that we are going to be more productive. If you are not pushing yourself to be better, you are going to lose your job compared to other people who know how to work with technology and AI. So what I will say is just try to understand that now you have to learn something new every day.
Finally, when you look at Africa in the next 5 to 10 years' time, what does success look like for you in terms of Breedj, in terms of how it's going to deliver on that vision?
I think that we have some potential of great entrepreneurs in Africa. Only few of them has emerged yet. We need more entrepreneurs to find the problem we have in Africa, and technology will help them find a solution. And more of this company will emerge, and few of them will become huge, perhaps, and will be seen or bought by a foreign company. And this is how I see the next 5 years, about more entrepreneurs, more technology. And it's coming. It has been slow, but it's coming, and there is potential in Africa. And this is a continent where you have everything to do. So I'm really bullish about Africa.
Fantastic. Last question. You know it already.
Quote of the week.
As people, we often have quotes, mantras, proverbs, or affirmations that keep us going when times are challenging or when times are good. Do you have one that you can share with us today?
I will address it to talents. With us at Breedj, we just teach you to fish instead of giving you a fish. So if you join us, we are giving you the solution to get your next job.
Fantastic. Great way to end today's conversation, Nicholas. As we said at the beginning of the interview. It's a pleasure to have you here for a second time. So thank you for such a grounded conversation. I think for me, what really stands out is that unlocking that economic potential is not just about skills, capital, or ambition. It's also about the infrastructure, the trust, the systems that also allow Africa to plug into that global economy, especially on fair, equitable terms. So fantastic, and thank you for having that conversation today.
Thank you, Torster.
Thank you to everyone who has listened and stayed tuned to the podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, or tell a friend about it. You can also rate, review us in Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcast. Thank you, and see you next week for the Unlocking Africa podcast.